Thousands passed him every day. They saw the trains, they heard the announcements, but they never saw him. Until one morning, a man in a suit stopped and asked a question no one had ever dared to ask a beggar. Have you ever given anything to anyone? That single question shattered everything he believed about money, value, and himself. 6 months later, they met again, not as a beggar and a businessman, but as equals. This is not a story about luck. It's a story about the moment a man stopped asking, "What can I get?" and discovered the power of what he could give. In the world where thousands of lives pass through every single day, yet some souls remain unseen. The railway station was one of those places. Each morning, as the first light of dawn filtered through the vast glass dome overhead, it spread softly across marble floors polished smooth by decades of hurried footsteps. Trains arrived, trains departed. Voices echoed through loudspeakers and faded into the air. Time moved forward without pause, without concern for who was noticed and who was not. Near platform 7, Rajan unfolded his blanket. It was thin, worn, patched carefully in places where time and hardship had left their mark. He smoothed it slowly, deliberately, not because it would change his circumstances, but because it was one of the few things in his life he still had control over. Then he sat down, cross-legged, shoulders slightly bent, his spine curved into a shape life had taught him well. Beside him, he placed his metal bowl. It met the floor with a soft, hollow sound, a sound he knew by heart. Rajan lived by routine. Routine was safe. It asked nothing, it promised nothing. It did not raise hope, and therefore it did not disappoint. Each morning followed the same quiet rhythm: sit, wait, ask softly, accept whatever came, or accept the silence when nothing did. People passed him with eyes fixed on destinations that mattered more than a man on the floor. Some dropped coins without slowing, some stepped around him as though he were part of the station itself. Most never noticed him at all. Rajan did not resent them. Long ago he had stopped dreaming. Dreams were dangerous. Dreams reminded you of the distance between what was and what might have been. It felt safer to exist within the narrow borders of survival, safer to expect nothing. Until one morning, someone stopped. Not slowed, not hesitated, stopped. Rajan noticed the shoes first, polished, confident, unhurried. Shoes worn by someone who expected the ground beneath him to respond. Slowly, Rajan lifted his gaze. The businessman stood calmly, untouched by the urgency around him. His suit was neat, his posture relaxed, his eyes steady. There was no pity there, no impatience, only attention. Out of habit, Rajan lifted his bowl. But the man did not reach for his wallet. Instead, he spoke. "Tell me," he said gently, "have you ever given anything to anyone?" The noise of the station seemed to fade. Rajan tried to answer, but the words did not come. No one had ever asked him that before. People spoke around him, over him, about him, but never to him like this. I have nothing," Rajan said at last. The businessman nodded, as though the answer confirmed something he already knew. "In my world," he said,
taking a seat on a nearby bench. Nothing survives without exchange. Life, work, relationships, everything flows in both directions. A river that only receives will eventually stop flowing. He leaned forward slightly. You've decided you are empty, but what if that isn't true? What if you've simply never looked closely at what you might offer?
Before Rajan could respond, the man stood, pressed a folded note into his trembling hand, and spoke words that stayed long after he disappeared into the crowd. This is not charity. Think of it as an investment in the possibility that you are more than you believe. That night, Rajan did not sleep. The question followed him, circling his thoughts again and again. What do I give? When morning came, his eyes fell on something he had passed countless times without truly seeing. Wildflowers. They grew along the edges of the tracks, purple, yellow, white, pushing through cracks in the concrete, blooming despite smoke, despite noise, despite neglect. Life thriving where it was never invited. Rajan looked at them quietly, and for the first time in years, he did not see himself as broken. He saw himself as buried. He picked a flower. When the first commuter passed, Rajan did something unfamiliar. He offered it. "Would you like one?" he asked softly. "A blessing for your day." The woman stopped. She hesitated. Then she smiled. She placed money into his hand and accepted the flower. "Thank you," she said. The words felt heavier than the coins. One flower became two, two became many. People slowed, they smiled, they spoke, they gave, not just money, but attention. Rajan began to sit straighter. Days turned into weeks, flowers became bundles, bundles became purpose, purpose became confidence. When the businessman returned months later, he did not find a blanket or a bowl. He found a man standing behind a small cart filled with color and care. They shook hands, as equals. "You didn't change your circumstances," the businessman said. "You changed your mindset." Rajan smiled gently. "No," he replied, "I changed what I offered." And the world responded. The wisdom beneath the story is simple. Life does not respond to desperation. It responds to value. You do not rise by asking louder. You rise by giving better. The moment you stop asking, "What can I get?" and begin asking, "What can I give?" your world quietly begins to rearrange itself. Change the mindset. Life will follow.